Hello, hello, it's Nadine here, and I'm here with this week's episode of Life, Health, and the Universe. And today I'm joined by Carol Szuky from Toronto, Canada. Welcome, Carol. It's great to have you
Thank you,
here.
Nadine.
Um,
Yes, it is.
yeah, Monday morning here for me in Australia, and 5 p.m. for you there in Toronto.
It's 5 p.m. and
So,
it's Super Bowl Sunday.
okay, Super Bowl Sunday. Oh, wow. Does that mean you're missing out on something?
Oh, not at all. Not yet. I mean, I'm really here. I'm just here for the halftime show. And other than
Okay.
that,
Cool. So welcome. Let me do a quick intro um, of you to our listeners, and then I'll hand over to you. I'm going to start with a couple of things that you have on your website, because we know that you're a mentor and a speaker, and you focus your expertise on spirituality, personal development, entrepreneurship, and motherhood. But what I love is when you call yourself a practical spiritual hustler.
yes.
And you're a mum, wife, and mentor. And what I love about that is that you can do all of the things, because that's what mums do, right?
That's what we do, whether we like it or not. That's what we
Yeah, whether
do.
we like it or not. And we don't always have just one role in this life. We have many. And so
Yes.
I love that you're bringing all of that together. Welcome. I think that we're going to have a great conversation. I'm really grateful for you to be here with us today.
Oh, thank you. The honor is mine. Absolutely.
So tell us what bits and pieces do you want to fill in the gaps with? Did I miss anything out, or did we kind of get that in a nutshell for you?
Yes, that's a really good nutshell you got. I like it. I mean, you've said a lot of the things, all the things. I can't even think of anything more, but we can definitely just dive into all of the things.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Okay, I've got a whole bunch of notes. I'm gonna just have a quick squiz through. Let's just get straight into the nuts and bolts.
All right.
Practical spiritual hustler. So we can break that down. Like, I love obviously you talk about being a mum and a wife, and that requires some practicality, right? And
Absolutely.
I love that you can kind of start to integrate that into some kind of spiritual work, but you also use the word hustler, and I want to dig into that as well, because just wonder about entrepreneurship and motherhood and hustling, and whether they all go together or not.
Right,
So
right.
what is a practical spiritual hustler?
Yes, practical spirituality hustler. It kind of defines who I am. I'm very practical. I'm also very spiritual, but practically spiritual. But I preach it so much that it's like I'm hustling it.
Okay.
And I'm very much like a go-getter. A lot of spiritual people, and I'm doing air quotes here if you're not seeing this, spiritual people are known to be very, flowy and soft and, sometimes airy, fairy, very gentle. And, I'm just not. I'm a bit of a tomboy, it's like my message usually comes out, even if it's channeled, it's a firm message, very present, very knowing. And so sometimes I'm not very airy fairy. And so that's why I kind of use the word hustler, just to kind of add that little spunk that I am
Sure.
into, the way that I convey my messages.
Yeah, great. And I can see that in your on your Instagram. Like, there's definitely a very fun, loving bit of spirituality going on there. I saw your most recent one of your recent posts where you're cooking up something.
Yes, yes. God,
In your
always have some
cauldron.
ideas picking up. That's
But it's
right.
all it's all kind of fun and yeah, it's got a great energy about it.
Oh, thank you,
Yeah,
Nadine.
it's great to see. Okay, so let's get into a little bit more detail, like because we're hearing this a lot, and obviously the podcast is called Life, Health, and the Universe. So I'm totally down with, the spirituality side of things, and how that, like, our life and our health and our spirituality, the universe, they're all interconnected, and you start to see threads of things coming together. And that's kind of why I named the podcast what I did. But we're hearing spirituality, used a lot.
Yes.
More recently.
Yes.
I remember, like, I come from a place, I don't know if you would have heard of it, in the UK, called Glastonbury.
I've heard of it.
It's kind of like pretty out there, like, and spiritual. So I have my own kind of idea of what spirituality is, but I never really, until probably in the last 3 or 4 years, kind of really started to feel like I was embodying some kind of spirituality myself. It never really felt like something, and I feel like more and more people are doing that. But what does it mean for you? What does spirituality
that's a great question.
mean?
Yes, I really find the most important part of spirituality is really tuning into yourself. It's not so much reaching out and finding, benevolent beings and really trying to, in my own opinion now, it's not so much trying to take from what's around you, it's tuning in and really understanding your presence, your purpose, how you need to serve, just on a day-to-day basis. And when you're in tune with that, to me, I find that to be, somebody practicing spirituality and just tuning into nature, tuning into goodness, tuning into gratitude. It's funny how just the simple practice of gratitude alone is not something that people do every day. And it's so simple, right? And there's always something to wake up and be grateful for. And of course, as you go about your day and you make it to the next, there are so many things to be grateful for.
Yeah, definitely. And do you have a gratitude practice? Like, is it integrated into just your everyday, or do you have like a point in your day, towards the end of the day, where you write it down or share with others what you're grateful for or what you're grateful about?
Right.
Grateful for them. How you're grateful for
Right.
trying to get my words sorted there.
It's okay. It's Monday morning for you, right?
I have been up for a while, but yeah, it is Monday morning.
Yes. No, and that's a great question. And of course, this is where, practical spirituality is kind of what I preach.
Yeah.
Sometimes I will write things down. I wish I can say that I am in my journal every day, writing down all the things I'm grateful for and la, 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 la. But I'm very practical with my spirituality. So it's like, sometimes it's just a matter of, you wake up and you're thankful that you have, you're breathing today, I'm walking today, the sun is shining today. But then as you go about your day, sometimes I will just, my teenager will come and sit with me and talk to me, and I just revel in how much, wow, look at how much my son has grown. Look at how handsome he's getting. He just told me that he got 100 on his test. And, just kind of taking that extra minute or two to be grateful for that one thing that happened today that didn't happen the other, and so on and so forth. So a lot of times it's just in the moment, and just knowing, I do have that mindset that every day is a day full of experiences to be grateful for and to enjoy, because life is a whole journey, and all of it, whether it's lessons that you're learning or, great things are happening, it's all working in your favor, and it's all worth celebrating.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, before we go any further, because I've got a couple of things that I'd love to talk to you about based on what you've just said, but can you tell us a little bit about your own journey? Like, when we talk about spirituality, and you've talked about it's almost like coming back to yourself. Do you feel like you've always been a spiritual person? I feel like you touched on like channeling or that something, and I've seen in your Instagram that you might use tarot cards or affirmation cards or oracle, that sort of thing. Do you feel like you've always had that kind of intuitive knowing, or is this something that's kind of come around because of your personal experiences?
You have such great questions.
I'm a nosy Parker.
I love it. No, that's great. So as I was growing up, no. As I was growing up, I thought I was a bit weird. I was a bit different. I don't like to speak negatively about myself, but in my mind, I was a bit of a loser, right? I didn't quite fit in, and I didn't know why. And I didn't care for the things that the kids were talking about, or as I grew up, that the teenagers were talking about, or the young adults were talking about. I was just always kind of there, but not fully present and engaged in, I was a little bit, I guess, older in my years, so now in retrospect, I guess this would be why. And when you ask, was there kind of like this time in my life where the spirituality really kind of kicked in? Absolutely. In 2019, I unexpectedly lost my father. And that was late in 2019. That was in November and Q 2020, right? So there was this moment of losing something that meant so much to me, or someone who meant so much to me in my life, especially as a male figure. I didn't have very many positive role models in my life other than my father, right? That unconditional love of a good father was something, I guess, that I kind of took for granted. So losing my dad, I realized I lost the rock that I could lean on. And I love, using that phrase because my dad's nickname was Rocky. So having losing that, I really had to tune in and find the love for myself, the respect for myself, the care for myself that I was not getting from my father anymore. And it really helped me understand how important it is to tune in to who you are. I've had to, go to therapy before that when my dad was still alive. And my therapist had asked, what do you like to do? What do you do in your spare time? I'm like, oh, I'm busy with the kids, or I like to spend time with my kids, or where me and the kids are going to the movies, or I take the kids to the park, and then she's like, no, but who are you? What do you like to do? What are your hobbies? And I cried because I had no idea. I couldn't answer, what does Carol like? And now if you ask me, I can rhyme off a whole bunch of things. But it's interesting how sometimes motherhood and, marriage might kind of cause women to forget how important it is to stay in tune with yourself. And it's not always about giving. Like, yes, you do have to give and be present for your family, but then there's also you, where you have to give and be present to yourself. And that was something I didn't do. And so having that time in 2020 to really just slow down. At that time, all 4 of my kids were busy. They were all competitive athletes. So I was constantly driving and sitting in places like, for us to sit at home and have dinner together was not really a thing, right? So to have that time to actually settle into myself, grieve, right? And just be, I was missing that for a long time. And I guess I didn't realize how much of myself I was missing. And so just really enjoying being able to do that. And I really feel like leading up to my father's passing and after, I feel like many guides and opportunities to tune into my spirituality were just put in place.
Yeah.
It was one friend after the other, or somebody recommends a psychic, or this intuitive opportunity, or hey, let's try this meditation, or we should go to this yoga class. It was just these things that would just come into place, and it was available on my schedule, and just everything just falling into place for me on this spiritual journey. So
Wow.
mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry that you lost your dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it brings up yeah,
I get it. I get it.
So I just wonder, like, when you are, I mean, I want to get back into the spirituality thing, but I just had a thought then, like, how easy
Mm-hmm.
is it, or how
Mm-hmm.
difficult is it to spend that time kind of going internally, reflecting, tapping into your awareness, your spirituality more when you do have kids and a family? How much do you share? Like, did you find yourself going very internal, or is it like this is your private time when you go inward, and
Mm-hmm.
then you've got
Mm-hmm.
your mum and wife face on the outside? Or do you talk to your partner and your kids about this stuff? How did that kind of—
Ooh. Well, I guess we're gonna get a little bit juicier too here now. Uh, so because of all this spiritual awakening, this ascension, it also brought to light that my marriage needed a lot of work.
Okay.
It brought to light that the marriage that I thought I had, and the little quarrels, and the little this is just, marriage just is hard, this is just life with 4 kids. Well, that wasn't the case. My husband is actually someone who suffers with narcissistic personality disorder.
Oh.
That being said, so 2019 lose my dad, 2020 is the pandemic, and 2021 was the year I said to my husband, I can't do this anymore. We've
Oh.
tried therapy, we've tried marriage counseling. I cannot handle this emotional, psychological, mental abuse anymore. I cannot stay in this marriage. And that really woke him up.
Wow.
That was his rock bottom. That was his, okay, I guess I actually have a problem, because, my wife has told me that, this marriage is hard before, and she's sick of my BS and what have you, la, 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 la. But she's serious. He knew in my eyes and in my heart, I wasn't going. I was ready. I was ready. I was done. I didn't love him anymore. I couldn't love the only person who disrespected me so much.
Wow.
My husband did so much work, and I mean daily work. And there were times, even after I agreed to stay, that I actually wanted to go. There were times where I was like, you know what, he can't actually do this. He's, in his 40s, and how can he actually change as a person? But when you do the really deep work, that's not just talk therapy, it did really help. And so that being said, he was at a point too where he was like, whatever you need, whatever you need, whatever time you need, wherever you need to go, whatever you need to do it. And so he finally gave me that time to be able to serve myself, know what I need, say what I need and want. And so to answer your question, it's definitely easier that my kids are much older. So here we're in 2024, and my baby is 15.
Oh.
And my eldest is 21.
Oh
So
my gosh.
they're very self-sufficient,
Yeah.
individuals and human beings, and amazing human beings, I must say. And they also knew and supported that, mom needs to take this time.
Yeah.
So I've been given a lot of grace, which every mother deserves, right? But we forget that sometimes and think we have to keep doing, but sometimes we need to just be. And I guess my kids, and obviously my husband, were seeing that, you know what, mom's still doing everything she needs to do. And everything just works out as it should, right? I mean, and then somehow you do find the time to also just be by yourself,
Yeah,
and love yourself alone. And then at the same time, you're also just as present or more for your family.
mm. Yeah, wow. Thank you for sharing that. I saw your post about your marriage being 18 years. I had no idea that, obviously, like we've never met before, so of course I had no idea. But yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I think it's really interesting. It like there's like universal patterns, right? So you've come to this point, and obviously your dad passing away was a trigger to this personal evolution, I guess you would say.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
happened around your 40s. Could
Mm-hmm.
easily be seen as the midlife crisis.
Right.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
It's really
And it's funny,
interesting how we have that, but it's actually like, no, this is a point in my life where like all of this stuff's been happening, life's been happening to me, and now you have this period of time where you start to reflect, and
yes.
that process of like finding yourself and loving yourself, you start to, your relationships can change, right? Because you're like,
Absolutely.
no way, I'm not doing this.
That's
Yeah,
right. And you know, there is something magical about the 40s where you're just
totally.
like, you know what? I've done a lot of life in my years, and I definitely know what I can and cannot take into my 50s, right?
Yeah, and
beyond.
it's kind of taken with a pinch of salt, isn't it? Oh, they've gone mad, they're having a midlife crisis. But in fact, it's yeah, it's an evolutionary process that both men and women
It's
go
true.
through.
And you know what? I kind of feel personally that a midlife crisis, quote unquote, is the same as a spiritual awakening and or
Yeah,
ascension.
yeah,
It truly is.
yeah.
It's just a different term.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's amazing. Okay, so let me think. So you've gone through this whole process from 2019. Prior to that, probably you were spending a whole bunch of time being a mum, right? Were you
Oh yes.
working in that time as well, or were you full-time parenting? I
For
mean,
a
it's not
particular
work,
time.
right? It's
Right.
work.
Oh yeah. You're right.
It's like the never-ending work of being a mum.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's it.
But did you have a job or a business at the same time as well?
Yes, I kind of had both. So 2010 was my first venture into entrepreneurship.
Okay.
I had a fitness business.
Ah,
I taught a lot of pre and postnatal classes
yeah.
because obviously that was the era that I was in. And then also I love to dance, so I was also a Zumba instructor.
Oh, cool.
Yes, so that was really great because I was able to stay home and raise my children. And so by the time that they were all kind of going to school full time, then I realized that I kind of have a lot of time on my hands, and I didn't necessarily want to ramp up the fitness business because I felt like it was taking a toll on my body. And I have certain, reserves about how the health and fitness industry views what health and fitness is, and that's just a whole nother podcast,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I'm sure you know just from your
Well,
the title of
I've
your
got
podcast.
I've
So
got a background in fitness as well. My husband and I used to own a gym, so
oh, there you
yeah.
go. Yes.
So yes, I am
So
totally with you on that.
yes, it was kind of a double-edged sword that I was battling with there. And so as my kids got really busy, and it's like I was home when they needed me, but I was out teaching classes as soon as they would come home. And if
Yeah.
my kids were sick or they just wanted to see mom, and then they started to go into their activities, I'd have to drive them to dance, baseball, hockey. It wasn't working out anymore. So I said to myself, I would love a job where, and manifest wasn't a big word back then, but I was like, I would love to manifest a job that I can, be home when my kids are home and have the same holidays as them. Like, I want to be home for the holidays. I don't want to go to a full-time job and then I have to sit in rush hour and all this. And I said, I would just love the perfect job that would just match up with their schedules. Boom, what did I manifest? A job in a school. And so that served me from the time that my youngest started kindergarten and up until when did I say enough is enough? And really and truly, from my first day of full-time work in the school, I said to myself, is this really what I'm going to do until retirement? Is this actually what I'm going to do? I guess it is. And Carol realized very quickly, no, it wasn't. And so year after year, I was realizing this. But so I left the board 2021, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I took a leave, and then after that, I just didn't go back. And I finally actually terminated my my position in September 2023. So just a few months ago.
Okay.
I officially said, and it's funny because that was when I really started to take off, because old school parenting, like my parents were like, are you sure you want to, it's such a good job. It's a government job, of course, right? This old school mentality. And so when I went to send that resignation, I thought that I was going to have huge regrets. Carol, what are you doing? That was your security blanket. But when I pressed send, Nadine, I felt so good. I felt like I literally took a 20-pound backpack off my back.
Wow.
So,
yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? I always, when we had our gym in Sydney, we had a lot of clients who were sort of around their 40s and a lot of professional people. And they would be in busy jobs, working all the hours, and then they would quit. And I was always so excited for them because I feel like even though you don't know necessarily exactly what's going to happen, you just open up this energetic field or something where things start to flow much more easily. And
because you're following your purpose.
It's really interesting. And actually the other day my husband had some work that he was doing, and he's just like, he's been done with it for a while, and he finally pulled the pin on it, and within a week he had 5 new people inquiring about working with him.
Look at that. I love that. I love hearing that. That's amazing.
It's magic. It's brilliant. But we're so afraid of it, aren't we? We can be really afraid of change. So let's talk about that, because I know that's one of the things you work with your clients, right? Fear of change.
Yes. And this word,
you've had your own very
screaming
recent experience with change, really.
Yes, it's true. And like I was just saying, like the word conditioning is just screaming out at me right now. Conditioning, right? Conditioning, whether it's expectations that we set out on ourselves because of the expectations that our parents had on us, or what society's told us, or, friends, family. And it's just conditioning. And really, we know what we know what we like, we know what we're destined for. And it's not necessarily for everyone else to know and see, but as long as we know and we trust that and we feel that through our whole body, that's when you have to go with it, right? Like, listen to that nudge and make that move. Press that button, or you know what I mean? Yeah.
When you did it, so like I mentioned before, on your Instagram account, you show like some like reading tarot cards or oracle or something like that. When you first started to make this change for yourself and you decided to give up your job and step out into the world of coaching and mentoring, what guidance did you tap into? Like, was it literally just a gut feeling? Did you go to a psychic? I remember you mentioned that. Did you, what were you tapping into when you made that decision?
Yes. Yes. So I did mention earlier that it's just like certain people in the
Mm,
spiritual, community and stuff were just kind of put in my place, and it's all part of it. I remember, man, what's one of the things I remember having a friend who told me about this psychic when she was kind of in a questionable time in her life, and after losing my dad, and she was just saying how she got so much clarity and answers and what was going on, and so after losing my dad and really not coming to, well, of course I've come to terms with it and I was
mm,
somewhat at peace with it, but something was just kind of missing. I needed a little bit of reassurance, and I remembered this psychic that my friend had referred to me to, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna make an appointment. That was truly foundational in I guess finding true peace in my father's passing. Um, the fact that this was just over the phone and he was able to tap into how my father's passing happened.
wow.
Um, the fact that my dad had bought a truck. He's saying, I'm seeing truck energy. I don't know why I'm getting truck energy. And I was like, my dad bought his dream truck, and when so I lost my father. He went in for surgery, and just he didn't make it out.
Mm,
He went in for heart surgery, and two
wow.
days later um he had passed on. And he was so excited, and my dad is very kind of like, when he wants something, he does all the research, reads all the things,
Yeah.
and just kind of revels in, like he'll just go back to the email of the purchase and things like that. And so he picked up on the fact that my dad was so excited about this truck, and it's a huge thing. It sounds silly, but knowing my father, like, I know how big of a deal it was. So for this man to not know me, have never seen me, it was a phone call, and to know all of that, it was so reassuring. It really gave me the closure that I didn't get.
Mm,
Um, and then I also remember that somebody had referred me to a osteopath because I had pain in my shoulder. And of course, she was an intuitive osteopath. And she tuned in to me losing my father. And she also told me that I was a healer. Like it was like so like here and there, right?
yeah, right.
But she's like, she says, you're a healer. She's like, do you know that? And I'm like, well, I mean, I know I love people and I like making people happy. And she's like, well, but it's your gift. And then she pointed me in the direction of this book called Light is the New Black by Rebecca Campbell. Do you know
Okay.
this book?
No, light
No. Oh
is the new
gosh.
black.
Light is the New Black. This
I'm
book
going to
is
write it down.
magical. Yes,
Okay.
please do. And it was just so perfect
Yep.
for me in this confused but so intrigued, and knowing I had a bigger purpose time in my life, and it just said all the things that I need to hear. I swear she wrote this book for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
And
so
so, yeah.
then how did it unfold? You quit, you were like, right, that's it. I'm going to quit my job. Did you know what you were going to do next?
Well, somewhere in between there, I also opened another business, right?
Ah,
So I kind of had this idea of stepping stones. So when I was
mm,
starting to really know and trust that I couldn't be in the school board anymore, my husband at the same time actually wanted to go back into entrepreneurship, but he knew that he didn't have the capability to actually like create a business from the ground up.
mm,
And so I took that on, and in my, I guess, life plan, it was like, okay, let me start this business, and as it starts to kind of take off, I can lean more into it and leave my corporate job and also
ah,
see what else is there for me. But so I did that in 2018. 2019, I also wanted to support myself
mm,
in leaving the school board, and so I also became a travel advisor.
ah.
So I had a full-time job, also am the CEO of a construction corporation, and I'm also a travel advisor.
You still doing that
So
as well?
I am still doing that right
Okay.
now. Yes. Yes. So that all being said, was able to comfortably lose my job because I had two businesses still in the works. And then so as I started to just want to just lean more on my social media for my travel business, I just started to share my knowledge and my experience and my love for spirituality and just supporting women. And it was there that I kind of started to put my word out, right? Because it was like, yes, I sell travel and stuff, but this is me. This is who's selling it to you. And this is how I live. This is who I am. And I like the fact that a lot of my clients are wonderful clients just because it's like we kind of have a friendship too, because they knew who I was in my social media. But I really started to love that, just sharing my message and being who I am without, selling. And so that's kind of how I just kind of went more into the spiritual side of things. And that's it. It just became the way that I serve, because that's really where I feel in my heart is my purpose. Mm-hmm.
How was it received by your family and the people around you? Did you get these people going, always knew it? Or did you have like, have you lost your mind?
Oh, Nadine, all the things. All the things. And maybe you know this, right? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But all of the things. My friends who I would have the deep conversations with were like, oh gosh, yes, of course, right? Of course, this is what you're doing now. And some of them, like, for example, the ones who are, kind of like the hockey and baseball and dance families, like, really? Let me just sit back and watch, right? And it's funny because my family, my background is Filipino. And I find that in my culture, we're very religious focused. Mostly Catholicism. There's also Christianity, and there actually are some Filipino Muslims as well. But I was raised Catholic. And I actually haven't told my family this side of me.
You haven't?
Yeah, I haven't. I talk about spiritual things with my mom because she's very much in tune with, like she sees things. Even as a kid, she would see things, right? And so for me to say that this is what I do now, she'd be like, you can't make money doing that. You can't live like that. Get a real job, right? And so because I don't want to hear the judgment and the expectations, I don't want to quote unquote worry my mom with, you don't have a quote unquote real job. So I'm kind of sparing my mom the worry. And I have two brothers, and they wouldn't be able to process it. They're so not about spirituality. There's so much about you only get what you work for and you have to work hard in life. They're still very much in that mentality, and I respect that. And I don't like to push anything as much as I'm a practical spirituality hustler. I know when it's not being received, and so I won't put that out to someone who doesn't want to hear it. And so that's where I'm at. I do have one cousin who follows my page, and she'll kind of send me messages, and I love this and I love that. And so I love the support that I am receiving from the ones that do see the change and are so excited for me.
It's a tough one, isn't it? Do you feel like
But
that's like the next step in your evolution will be like fully embracing it, family and all?
It's not an issue of me embracing it. I am fully embracing it. I don't know if I know that my brothers wouldn't embrace it. And you couldn't even try and convince them.
But would
what? Who knows?
Would they be put off you?
Maybe, because you know what, too, with
scares people.
my yes. It does scare some people. I don't think it would scare them. They would just be like, no, what's real is real and what's not is not. What's here is here. What's not here is not real. And to me, I don't want to push any concepts on someone who is not willing to see it, because if I feel very much like, if that's how you want to live, that's your fault, but it's really fun up here. It's really fun up here. So
it's interesting, isn't it? Because like when you have when you're having this great experience, you do want to tell other people about it.
Absolutely.
But you can feel the resistance. And I have when I was working a little while ago, I got into using essential oils, right? We were going low tox, got into using essential oils, and we were having some really, we were using them for colds and hay fever and aches and pains, and like loving them. And I was like, everyone's going to want this. And I was telling people about it, and they're like, she is weird. And I'm like, right, okay, people just aren't. I was really astounded. This is just like some lemon oil, a bit of peppermint to make you feel good.
Right.
Like, they are not going to be down with like tarot cards and
it's true. I actually have a good friend. Yeah, I have a good friend, and she's like, tarot, no, I don't do tarot. I don't want to hear it. Don't bring it anywhere near me. I'm like, okay, cool. That's fine. That's you. I respect it.
Have you tapped into like a particular modality within your spirituality that you now use with your clients? Like, do you have intuitive knowing? Do you use the tarot specifically? Like, is there any modality that you prefer?
I think and I've been told this, especially by other, spiritual mentors of mine, they say, Carol, because sometimes I'm like, I want to give them a thing. I want to claim that I do this. I want this, like, should I do that? There's one common message, and they're like, Carol, you are the magic.
Sure.
There's nothing that you need to learn. There's nothing that you need to offer other than yourself and your wisdom, because your intuition is something that can't be taught to you. It's already within you. You just have to believe. You have to trust. And of course, like, I mean, it does make sense what I have to offer that comes from whatever I channel, which I've been told comes from the 6th dimension.
Oh,
I'm not going to learn it somewhere else.
No.
Other than there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. All right.
So
nothing in particular. Do you have anything personal favorites though? Do you like using tarot, or do you go, with this person, I feel like I want to draw a card? Or
yes, sometimes I do. Yeah, I do. And sometimes even for myself, it's like, because it's like talking to your bestie, right? Because your guides are really, truly your best friend, like really, really looking out for you. And so sometimes it's my way of communicating with them in a tangible way.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just did a tarot reading with a client today, and wow, did those messages ever match up? And then for them to get that visual, of, wow, that's exactly what Carol said. It's reassuring to the clients.
Definitely.
So,
yeah.
yes.
Okay. So before we, it sounds like someone's going to try and break into my room. Might be a small child. I don't know. I haven't locked the door, but they couldn't get in. Let's talk briefly. I want to talk about your work, and we are coming close to our hour. But I would love to know what your take is on motherhood and entrepreneurship, and I know you've talked about it in kind of like fun terms, like, because you're an action taker, the hustle. Because I feel like from my personal perspective, there's a lot of there can be a lot of focus on do.
Oh, yes.
Especially for mothers. How do we balance that motherhood, entrepreneurship without driving ourselves into the ground?
Yes. Yes. Great question, because it's definitely something that I wish I had grasped sooner.
Okay.
Motherhood really is the most important part of motherhood, I find, is loving your children unconditionally. I find that you start with expectations because especially in the era that we grew up, like parents had expectations. It was like it's in my culture, my goodness, right? Doctor, lawyer, engineer, dentist. It's best if you did something like that. And I guess if you settled for some other kind of full-time job, then you're doing okay. But to be able to just love your children, teach them happiness, teach them respect. They learn a lot from school too. Like, don't have expectations of them that are so harsh that they feel like they're absolute failures if they don't do what you expect them to do. And that they have to prove themselves for the rest of their life because they're doing okay, but you had this expectation of them. I find that is an important message that I had received. I remember from, one of my colleagues when I was in the school system early on in my years there. And I remember that I was, stressing a bit that my son's grades weren't higher than what they were. They were kind of mediocre. And I'm like, I used to like kind of homeschool them to prep them before they went to school. And, he is so smart. Like his thoughts, like he has such a wonderful emotional, system and like, why can't he just, and I remember my colleagues saying, but why don't you just let him be? It's okay if he doesn't have, straight A's. It's okay. And I thought to myself, oh my God, it is okay. He doesn't need to have straight A's to be a successful, happy, respectful human being. So when it comes to motherhood, I feel like don't put too much pressure on yourself and your children. Just the thing that they need the absolute most is the love of their parents. Unconditional love, zero expectations. Just the fact that they're existing and that they are your child is enough.
Yeah.
And when they have that unconditional love, it's almost like a guarantee that they'll go the right way because they want to, because you love them without expectation.
Yeah.
And so when you are raising balanced, happy human beings, it makes it easier to do your entrepreneurial ventures because you know that there's not so much to do at home.
Okay.
Because you know that your most important job is to love.
Yeah. Cool. Good answer. And so it kind of removes that sense of hustle, that kind of like that energetic, like I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do this, I need to do that, and I want to succeed, but I want, all of those things. That kind of changes the energetics of how you approach things, I guess, right?
Absolutely. And even mothers who have, a business, again, meet no expectations other than, are you doing something in your business? Because it is hard to balance motherhood and entrepreneurship, and understand that, yes, sometimes you're going to be working really strange hours if you are fully present when you are spending the time with your kids. And so that might mean that you are going to work on your business at 11 o'clock at night or 5 o'clock in the morning. And that's okay. There is no right or wrong way to do business as long as you are pouring into your business in some way, shape, or form.
have to disagree with you on the 11 o'clock at night thing. I will never stay up to work until 11.
You know what's funny? Sometimes those are my most creative times.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like
I have to admit, I'm more of a morning person.
Are you? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm well and truly tucked up in bed by 11 o'clock. Okay. So you've come to this point in your life. You've started your business. You're doing your other work as well, but you've started your business helping other women. Yes. Business women and entrepreneurs specifically, mothers.
No, I think women just in general. It's just, I thought that it was a business focus, but again, this is kind of like conditioning of people in business telling me you should focus on business because you are in business. And I'm like, no, my heart's telling me I don't need to niche down like that.
Yeah. So. And this is kind of where my question was heading, is like, how much of this, like the timing of it, I've been talking to some other guests about this, actually, you know, this 2024, and you would have heard it as well, like there's some big shifts happening on the planet energetically. Like there's going to be big changes. There's kind of like this I don't know, anticipation, right? How much of what you're doing and the timing of it do you think is aligned because of that? And like when you're working with women specifically, what do you think your role is? Like, that's kind of, I'm being a bit loose and not really super specific, but I think you're getting the idea of what
I get where you're going. Yes, absolutely. And it is all divine perfection. I'm seeing that it's all divine perfection, where I am in my life, how old my children are, being so much more aware now, releasing a lot of the, old paradigm business templates, realizing for my own self, I just have to be. I don't have to do anymore. I don't have to hustle anymore. It worked for me when I did do it, especially with construction, because that's so far from spiritual. But I always get channeled messages supporting women and understanding how much suffering women are doing silently, how much women are holding in their womb, unknowingly holding so much responsibility, trauma, just shoving down important introspection for the sake of hustling themselves to exhaustion and burnout. It needs to stop, because we've tried leaving the world in men's hands. It's not working out. It's not working. So we really need the divine feminine to step up and soften the chaos. And even, not to say that men aren't important in this world. We need our men, but we need our men to also kind of pull from their feminine energy, because every man has it, as masculine as some of them can be. There is feminine energy in there, and pull from that source of, okay, but wait, they also need to start taking care of themselves. They also, men especially, need to start facing their traumas and healing their traumas and their conditioning of what a quote unquote real man is. The divine feminine just needs to be in a spotlight now, because that energy, especially after what happened in 2020, we all need that love and kindness and just that compassion for each other. Social media is turning into the wild, wild west, especially on TikTok. My goodness, like, take cover. We just need to love. It sounds like, some hippie stuff, but this is real. We really just need to just love each other and have compassion, because it's so important.
Amazing. So to finish, like, what's how are you how are you doing this? You're doing your
Mm.
mentoring and coaching. You're also doing retreats.
Mhm.
What's your passion? What does the future hold for you on your journey to supporting women to find their inner truth? I guess their
Mhm.
yeah
Well, I'll
direction.
definitely keep showing up on social media for sure.
Yeah.
And I really feel guided to do more speaking.
Okay. Yep.
Um, I will I'll see literally where that takes me.
Yep.
But I am very excited, and I know it's definitely in the cards for me. And even, my spiritual mentors who kind of, guide me through this journey have always said, they're like, I see a stage, I see a microphone. Do you sing? I'm like, karaoke in my family room. But I think I'll be invited to more stages and
Oh, great.
and share my message that way. So
Yeah,
very excited
fantastic.
for what's to come. Yeah.
Okay. If before we close, if we want to find you, where do we go? Is Instagram the best place to find you?
Yes, I do.
Yep.
I love showing up on Instagram at carol.szuky. You're probably going to have to
Yeah, we'll
tune
put
into
this in the
Nadine's show
yeah,
notes to find out
we'll
how
put
to
that in the
spell that.
notes. Yeah.
Yeah, Hungarian last name. And I will be showing up a little bit more on TikTok. It's just, man, there's just so
Oh,
many avenues to
I've never
to
I
try
had
out.
TikTok for about 24 hours and I was like, I am wasting my
It's
life
too
here.
much.
There's people riding each other like horses and
Yeah, it's so true. It's a wild, wild west, like I
oh
said.
yeah, I was like, I'm turning that thing off. I've never been back on there, but my husband has it. I think he watches it in secret.
Of course.
Well, wherever the microphone takes you, I wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much. I know that the work you're doing is super important, especially at this time. Yeah, and
Mhm.
I'm really grateful for you taking the time to join us today.
Thank you, Nadine. It was a great conversation.
Yeah, it
Thank you
was
so much
great.
for having me.
Thank you. See you soon. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.